In 2025, AI was linked to nearly 55,000 job cuts in the United States. Amazon, Salesforce, Oracle all cut thousands of roles and specifically cited AI as the reason. And in just the first few months of 2026, another 30,000 jobs went the same way. And those are just the reported numbers. The actual number is most likely higher because most companies don't publicly say when AI is the reason for the layoffs. They usually talk about it as restructuring. In May of 2025, Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic, told Axios that AI could eliminate half of all entry-level white-collar jobs within 5 years and spike unemployment to between 10 and 20%. Then he went on CNN and said it again to Anderson Cooper. Then in January of 2026, he published a 20,000-word essay repeating the same warning, calling this moment humanity's rite of passage. Jobs are going. That much really isn't up for debate anymore, but what comes next? Musk went on the WTF podcast in November and said, "In a future where anyone can have anything, you no longer need money as a database for labor allocation. If AI and robotics are big enough to satisfy all human needs, then money is no longer necessary." He repeated the same idea at Davos in January 2026 and in an Economist interview in late July of 2026. "Retirement savings are pointless. It won't matter." Those were his exact words, but I don't think I'm trusting that just yet. What he calls universal high income is very different than universal basic income. It won't be a modest check just to keep you alive. It'll be a world of such abundance, such material abundance, that the concept of income as we understand it just dissolves. Bill Gates talked about a 2 or 3 day work week becoming possible, and Sam Altman said that AI will eliminate the necessity of work. I want to personally put a disclaimer next to that because I put anything those two guys say in the same bucket as bullshit. Vinod Khosla, one of Silicon Valley's most established investors, responded to Musk by saying this ends in abundance only if the politics permits that great abundance. And then he linked to a post about AI-enabled dystopia instead. If work is optional and no one needs a job to survive, then someone controls what everyone needs. Who is that someone and what do they get in return for providing it? There's no answer to that yet. But the infrastructure for one possible solution is already being built. 134 countries representing 98% of global GDP are currently exploring or actively developing central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. That number was 35 countries in May of 2020, and in 5 years it tripled. Every G20 nation is involved. 66 already are in advanced development. And 3 countries are already fully launched: the Bahamas, Jamaica, and Nigeria. China's digital yuan had processed more than 3.4 billion transactions worth approximately $2.3 trillion by December of 2025. What makes a CBDC different than the digital currency we already use is pretty straightforward. When you pay with a card or transfer money through an app, today you're moving existing money through a private system. A CBDC is money issued directly by the central bank, living entirely within a government-controlled infrastructure. And it's programmable, which means it can follow instructions about how, when, where, and on what your money gets spent. Stripe describes programmable money as currency that can incorporate and follow instructions. For example, it can say release on delivery, expire in 30 days, and only spendable with approved vendors or something along those lines. China's digital yuan is already doing this. The People's Bank of China has expiration functionality, money that just stops working if you don't spend it within a certain window of time. There's also geographic restrictions, money that only works in certain locations. Merchant category limitations, money that can only go to approved types of businesses. These are all features of a system that's currently processing trillions of dollars. There's something that's very important about all this, though. The United States separated itself from this in July of 2025. Trump signed the Anti-CBDC Surveillance Act, permanently prohibiting the Federal Reserve from issuing a digital currency. But the U.S. opting out doesn't stop the global system from being built around it. 134 other countries are building them. China's already running at scale. The BRICS nations, all 11 members, are building cross-border digital currency infrastructure, designed to route around the dollar. Transaction volume on Enbridge, the fastest-growing cross-border CBDC project, surged to $55 billion, a 2,500-fold increase since its early 2022 pilots. India, the host of the 2026 BRICS Summit, proposed linking member states' digital currencies to facilitate cross-border trade. The architecture is being built whether the U.S. participates or not, and if universal income becomes a global reality, the delivery mechanism for it will be digital currency because there's no other scalable option. And while all this is taking shape, there's stuff being developed outside of this that people haven't really connected to the money conversation yet because people are really concerned about their privacy. Flock safety cameras, you've probably driven past dozens of them without even knowing it. They're in over 6,000 communities across the United States. There's over 1 billion images captured every month, and every car that passes in front of one gets the plate read, make and model identified, color logged, bumper stickers cataloged, even scratches on your car get documented. All of that goes into a nationwide searchable database. Motorola Solutions runs a competing network with cameras from more than 3,700 agencies, and federal agencies, ICE, FBI, CBP, they spend tens of millions of dollars annually accessing these systems. And it's not just law enforcement. Home Depot and Lowe's are deeply integrated into Flock shared networks. Retailers are tracking your plate in their parking lots and sharing that data. A 2025 audit in the state of Illinois found one suburban Chicago police department alone had logged 262 immigration-related out-of-state searches in just a few months, sending Illinois residents' movement data to agencies in Texas, Oklahoma, Kentucky, Missouri, and Indiana. The audit found that 14 Illinois agencies shared data with 551 agencies outside of the state. The ACLU described what these systems are doing. They said that these surveillance systems threaten to become a near ubiquitous, permanent and searchable record of daily life for tens of millions of law-abiding Americans who rely on personal vehicles. Think about how all that can relate to programmable digital currency. Flock knows where your car goes. Your CBDC knows what you spend when you get there. Both feeding the same infrastructure, your physical location correlated with the financial behavior in real time. Now throw your cell phone in the mix. A lot of people think that their cell phone is literally listening to them. You say something out loud, a vacation, a product, a place, and a few minutes later it shows up in your feed. The companies all deny it. Meta denied it under oath, Google denied it, and Apple paid $95 million to settle a class action lawsuit in early 2025 over Siri recordings. They didn't admit any wrongdoing, of course, but the scale of that settlement tells you that there was something going on. In 2024, a company called Cox Media Group got caught with a pitch deck they've been showing advertisers. They were selling something called active listening, voice data from smartphones and smart TVs paired with behavioral profiles to serve targeted ads in real time. Google dropped them from their partner program, Meta distanced itself. The FTC accused Cox Media Group in May of 2026 of deceiving customers by falsely claiming that capability. But they don't even need to listen, really. The behavioral profile built from your phone, the location data, search history, app usage, accounts you follow, posts you pause on, the time of the day you check certain things, who your contacts are and what they search. That's all enough data for an algorithm to predict what you're thinking about before you've even said a word out loud. Researchers describe that system as essentially predicting what you and the people around you are talking about and serving an ad perfectly matched to that current state of mind. Now take that predictive capability and feed it the Flock camera record of everywhere your car has been over the last several years. The programmable digital currency record of everything you've bought and where you bought it from and when you bought it. And whatever behavioral scoring is piled on top of that. Where this goes depends entirely on whoever controls that infrastructure and what they decide to do with it. One possibility is the version the tech companies are going to show you, the most personalized consumer experience in human history. Universal income lands in your digital wallet, and before you decided what to spend it on, the system already knows. It knows you drove past a furniture store last Tuesday. It knows you've been looking at kitchen appliances for 6 weeks. It knows 3 people in your social network just bought a product and that people like you statistically make that same purchase within 90 days. The ad that you see isn't an interruption anymore. It's a suggestion that looks like it came from someone who knows you. Abundance and frictionless consumption perfectly synchronized. You never have to think about what to buy because the system already figured it out for you. The other possibility uses the same data for different purposes. Movement patterns flagged as unusual get correlated with purchase behavior to build a profile. That profile gets scored. That score determines what your programmable currency can access. Someone who attends certain events, buys certain books, or drives to certain locations finds their money working a little bit differently. Not cut off entirely, just quietly restricted in ways that are hard to challenge because there's no specific decision to appeal. You weren't arrested or accused of anything like that. Your money just doesn't work the same way it did the month before. The scoring infrastructure for all this is already being built as well. Credit scores will be social scores. We wouldn't need a financial credit score in a world where all of the money is under central control. Other factors would need to be considered. ESG scoring, environmental, social, and governance, is currently applied to corporations. Companies get graded on carbon footprint, diversity policies, governance practices, social behavior. High scores get access to certain investors of capital, and low scores are locked out. The director of the Socialism Research Center at the Heartland Institute said, "The point of it is to transform all of society, not just what happens inside the walls of some big corporation." The UN's Principles for Responsible Investing, which launched ESG scoring in 2006, explicitly described it as a tool to transform the broader economy. It started with corporations, but multiple analysts show the trajectory moving toward individuals. When you combine programmable digital currency with social scoring, the system writes itself. Your score determines what your digital income can buy. High score, you get full access. Lower score, your money doesn't work at certain merchants, or has restrictions on certain categories of purchases, or expires faster if you don't spend it in ways that the system approves. And if Flock cameras or their successors are tracking your physical movements simultaneously, where you go gets correlated with what you buy and both feed into the same scoring infrastructure. The components to pull all of this off are being built right now under the guise of financial innovation and public safety. There is a version of this that turns out genuinely good. Abundant AI-generated goods and services. Nobody forced to work jobs that they hate just to survive. Universal access to healthcare, housing, food. Our human time is freed up for creativity and relationships and experiences. And that might actually be where this ends up. But the architecture required to deliver that world is exactly the same architecture required to control it completely. The same programmable digital currency that delivers universal income can restrict what you spend it on. The same behavioral scoring that rewards good citizenship can punish you. The same camera network tracking your movements for crime prevention can log everywhere you've ever been. The same AI that eliminates poverty can monitor every transaction and every movement in real time. Whether we end up on the good side of this or the other one depends entirely on who controls the infrastructure and what they decide to do with it. Remember, Kossel said this ends in abundance only if politics permits. The oldest version of this story is in the Sumerian text, beings who created humans for a specific purpose, provided for their basic needs, and maintained control through that provision. They created a workforce, supplied the necessities, controlled the supply. And for most of human history, that control was physical. Land, food, water, shelter, you worked or you didn't eat. The Industrial Revolution shifted it to wages. The digital revolution shifted it to financial access. What's being built now shifts it to programmable digital tokens that only work within the parameters the issuer sets, correlated with behavioral scores and tracked through physical surveillance. It seems like every few centuries the delivery mechanism changes, and I'm interested to see where this is going to go. Trust me, I'm not mad about not having to save for retirement, but at what cost? What do we have to give up in return? If universal income gets delivered through programmable digital currency, your movements are tracked by a camera network, and behavioral score determines what you can spend it on, what would that world look like to actually live in, and who would you trust to actually run it? I'm being optimistic about this. I'm hoping that people get their shit together and figure out a way to make this right for humanity if this is the path that we're going to be taking in the future. There would be no reason for greed if there's a world of abundance. There would be no reason for power if everyone's on the same playing field. As long as this is managed correctly, this could be a good thing. But I think we all know it's probably not going to go that way. Maybe somewhere in the middle. That's kind of where my mind is settling at. Like, I can take a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but who knows? I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. I have 3 kids. I have a 22-year-old, a 20-year-old, and a 14-year-old. And I'm curious what the world's going to look like when they get to be my age. I mean, I have no clue what to even expect for them or how to set them up for success in a world that I've never lived in before. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate your time. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe, like, drop that comment. I'm really curious to see what you think about this and where you think all this crazy stuff is headed in the future. Until next time, I'll talk to you later.